Emily, Maria, Anna, Sophia, Liza, Carla, and Nina. 6 women connected to Boston surgeon Dr. Adrian Blake, one surprise birthday party, and a shocking secret that exposed a hidden life nobody saw coming. Dr. Adrian Blake had spent years building a name that people respected. In the busy medical world of Boston, he was known as a brilliant surgeon who could handle the most difficult operations with confidence. His calm personality, sharp skills, and dedication made him one of the most admired doctors at the hospital. Many patients believed they were in the safest hands whenever they entered his operating room. Outside the hospital, Adrian appeared to have the perfect life. He was married to Emily, a woman who had stood beside him through the hardest years of his journey. She supported him during medical school, long training hours, and the pressure that came with becoming a successful surgeon. Their friends saw them as a strong couple who had built a comfortable life together. However, behind the image of success, Adrian was hiding parts of his life that nobody knew about. Inside the hospital, some employees began noticing unusual behavior. Adrian seemed to have special connections with certain members of the nursing staff, especially several Filipino nurses who worked closely with his department. At first, nobody thought much about it, because doctors and nurses often work together under stressful conditions. But small details started to stand out. Certain conversations ended quickly when others entered the room. Some meetings happened away from busy areas of the hospital. Adrian's schedule appeared more complicated than before, and people began wondering if there was something happening beyond normal professional relationships. No one had enough information to question him openly. Adrian's reputation protected him. He was the successful surgeon everyone trusted, and very few people imagined eventually shocked the entire hospital. Adrian's position inside the hospital gave him a level of respect and influence that few people questioned. As a senior surgeon, he was often surrounded by younger medical staff who admired his experience and looked to him for guidance. His confidence and success made it easy for people to believe that he always made the right decisions. Over time, Adrian became increasingly close with several Filipino nurses who worked in different areas of the hospital. These relationships developed quietly, away from the attention of other employees. Because each connection happened separately, nobody immediately realized that there was a much larger secret behind his actions. The nurses involved believed they shared a special bond with Adrian. They saw him as someone who understood them and supported them during the difficult demands of hospital life. However, none of them knew the complete truth about his personal life or the other relationships happening at the same time. At home, Emily continued believing that Adrian was simply exhausted from his demanding career. Long shifts, emergency surgeries, and hospital responsibilities seemed like reasonable explanations for his changing behavior. She never imagined that the distance growing between them was connected to something hidden. As time passed, Adrian became more careful about keeping different parts of his life separate. He managed his schedule, controlled what information reached others, and continued maintaining the image of a dedicated doctor and loyal husband. But secrets are difficult to protect forever. Small clues began appearing, and people around Adrian started noticing patterns that did not make sense. What looked like separate incidents slowly began connecting into a disturbing picture. The truth was that Emily wanted Adrian's birthday to be unforgettable. After years of watching him work long hours and carry the pressure of being a respected surgeon, she decided to organize a surprise celebration surrounded by friends, family, and people from his professional life. She believed the event would be a chance to show appreciation for everything he had achieved. The party was carefully planned. The location was decorated, guests arrived with excitement, and everyone expected a peaceful evening celebrating Adrian's success. To those attending, it looked like a normal gathering for a man who had built an impressive career and a comfortable life. But behind the celebration was a hidden storm waiting to appear. As the evening continued, unexpected guests started arriving. Among them were several Filipino nurses who worked with Adrian at the hospital. Their appearance immediately created confusion, because they were not people Emily had personally invited. At first, their presence seemed unusual but harmless. However, the situation became more complicated when the nurses realized that they were not the only people connected to Adrian's private life. Information that had been carefully hidden for years began coming together in a way nobody expected. The celebration that was supposed to honor Adrian slowly became the moment his secrets started coming to the surface. The people around him began noticing connections that had previously gone unnoticed. Details about schedules, meetings, and relationships that once seemed unrelated suddenly appeared connected. The biggest surprise was not that Adrian had kept secrets. It was discovering the size of those secrets. The birthday party became the turning point of the entire story. In one evening, the carefully created image of a respected surgeon began to break, revealing a hidden life that shocked everyone who believed they knew him. After the events of the birthday party, the truth about Adrian's hidden life began spreading quickly. What started as confusion during the celebration turned into a serious situation as more details came forward. People who had once viewed Adrian as a respected and honest surgeon began looking at his actions differently. The information revealed that Adrian had not been involved in just one secret relationship. Over time, he had been maintaining connections with 6 different Filipino nurses from the hospital. Each relationship had been kept separate, allowing him to hide the full picture from everyone around him. The discovery shocked the hospital community. Many employees struggled to understand how someone with such a respected position could hide so much for so long. Adrian had built his career around trust, responsibility, and professionalism, but now those same qualities were being questioned. Emily faced the hardest reality of all. The person she had supported for years was not the person she believed he was. The life they shared, the memories they created, and the future she imagined all became uncertain after learning the truth. The hospital leadership could not ignore the situation. An internal review was started to examine Adrian's actions and determine whether his personal choices had affected his professional responsibilities. Staff members began discussing concerns that had been ignored before because of Adrian's reputation. The scandal became bigger than a personal betrayal. It became a story about trust, power, and the consequences of hidden decisions. The surgeon who was once celebrated for saving lives was now facing a crisis that threatened everything he had built. The carefully protected image of Adrian Blake was beginning to disappear, replaced by questions that no one could easily answer. As the investigation continued, more details about Adrian's actions started to come together. Hospital officials carefully examined records, schedules, and information connected to his professional activities. They wanted to understand how the situation developed and whether his personal decisions had crossed any professional boundaries. The investigation revealed a pattern of behavior that showed Adrian had been carefully separating different parts of his life. His changing schedules, private meetings, and unusual availability created questions that had remained unanswered for a long time. What once appeared to be normal behavior inside a busy hospital began to look much more complicated. The nurses connected to Adrian also found themselves dealing with unexpected consequences. Many of them had believed they understood their relationship with him, but discovering that they were part of a much larger situation changed everything. The truth affected their trust, emotions, and connection to the workplace. Inside the hospital, opinions were divided. Some people focused on Adrian's years of medical service and the lives he had helped save. Others believe his actions damaged the trust expected from someone in his position. The discussion became less about his achievements and more about the choices that created the scandal. Meanwhile, Adrian's reputation continued to suffer. The respect he had gained over many years was replaced by public attention and criticism. Colleagues who once admired him began questioning whether they had truly known him. The investigation did not only reveal details about Adrian's personal life. It showed how quickly a carefully protected image could collapse when hidden actions were exposed. A surgeon who had spent years building a legacy now faced the possibility of losing the career and respect that defined him. The impact of the scandal continued to grow, and Adrian's life began changing in ways he never expected. The reputation he had built over many years was damaged almost overnight. The hospital that once celebrated his achievements was now carefully reviewing his future and the decisions that had brought him to this point. Adrian's role as a respected surgeon became uncertain. People who once praised his dedication started looking at him through a different lens. His medical skills were still recognized, but the trust and respect connected to his name had been deeply affected. The attention surrounding the scandal also reached beyond the hospital. The story became known among people who had followed Adrian's career, creating even more pressure. A man who had always appeared in control suddenly found himself unable to manage the consequences of his own choices. At home, the situation became even more painful. Emily had to face the reality that the marriage she believed was strong had been built on hidden information. Years of memories were now connected to questions she never thought she would ask. The future they planned together became uncertain. The 6 nurses involved also had to deal with the aftermath. Their lives were affected by a situation they never expected to become public. Each person had to move forward while carrying the emotional weight of being connected to such a major controversy. The scandal became a powerful example of how personal actions can affect every part of a person's life. Adrian had spent years creating an image of success, discipline, and reliability. But the same person who was trusted during the most difficult medical moments had failed to recognize the damage caused by his own decisions. Everything he had built was now facing a complete collapse, and the consequences continued to follow him. Adrian's position inside the hospital gave him a level of respect and influence that few people questioned. As a senior surgeon, he was often surrounded by younger medical staff who admired his experience and looked to him for guidance. His confidence and success made it easy for people to believe that he always made the right decisions. Over time, Adrian became increasingly close with several Filipino nurses who worked in different areas of the hospital. These relationships developed quietly, away from the attention of other employees. Because each connection happened separately, nobody immediately realized that there was a much larger secret behind his actions. The nurses involved believed they shared a special bond with Adrian. They saw him as someone who understood them and supported them during the difficult demands of hospital life. However, none of them knew the complete truth about his personal life or the other relationships happening at the same time. At home, Emily continued believing that Adrian was simply exhausted from his demanding career. Long shifts, emergency surgeries, and hospital responsibilities seemed like reasonable explanations for his changing behavior. She never imagined that the distance growing between them was connected to something hidden. As time passed, Adrian became more careful about keeping different parts of his life separate. He managed his schedule, controlled what information reached others, and continued maintaining the image of a dedicated doctor and loyal husband. But secrets are difficult to protect forever. Small clues began appearing, and people around Adrian started noticing patterns that did not make sense. What looked like separate incidents slowly began connecting into a disturbing picture. The truth was that Adrian's hidden life involved not one secret relationship, but 6. When that reality finally came to light, the people around him were left questioning how long the deception had continued.